In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful, peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Have you ever felt a heaviness in your heart that no one else around you could understand? You walk into a room filled with people, laughter surrounds you, conversations rise and fall, yet inside you feel like a stranger. You smile, you nod, you even join in, but deep down you carry an ache that words cannot explain. It is the quiet question that lingers in your chest. Why do I feel so different? Why do I never fully belong? This feeling can be frightening. It can make you wonder if you are broken, if something is wrong with you, if Allah has turned away. But what if I told you that this ache is not a mistake? That this very feeling, the sense of distance, the weight of solitude, the whispers of rejection, is in fact a sacred sign? You are not being pushed aside. You are being set apart. Loneliness is not always punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. What looks like isolation is often Allah Almighty drawing you closer, removing the noise of the crowd so that you can finally hear His voice more clearly. Before every great mission, there comes a season of silence. Before every rise, there is a hidden training ground. This script is for you, the one who feels overlooked, misunderstood, and unseen. You are not forgotten. You are being refined. And in that refinement lies your purpose. Together, we will walk through stories, wisdom, and timeless truths that will help you see your solitude not as emptiness, but as elevation. Because when Allah chooses someone for something extraordinary, He does not begin with celebration, He begins with separation. Loneliness is one of the most painful human experiences. It makes you question your worth, your belonging, even your purpose. But what if the loneliness you feel is not abandonment at all? What if it is selection? You see, when Allah Almighty chooses a soul for something higher, He often removes it from the crowd first. Think about it. Seeds are not planted on display. They are buried in the soil, hidden in the dark, where no one can see. Only then can they begin to grow. In the same way, your solitude is not evidence that you have been forgotten. It is proof that you are being planted. Loneliness reframed becomes something powerful. It is not the end of connection. It is the beginning of clarity. It is the sacred pause that strips away the need for constant approval. It is the training ground where you learn that your value does not depend on how many people stand with you, but on the one who never leaves your side. Maybe your friends don't understand you. Maybe your family dismisses your dreams. Maybe your social circle has grown smaller and quieter. It hurts, yes. But what if this is the very silence where your heart can finally hear Allah's whispers? What feels like rejection from people is often redirection toward your Creator. And what feels like distance from the world may actually be closeness to Him. So, the next time you sit in a room and feel unseen, remember, you are not being overlooked. You are being observed by the only gaze that truly matters. The loneliness is not punishment. It is preparation. If there is one truth that runs like a thread through the Quran and Sunnah, it is this: hardship is never wasted. Trials are never random. Every difficulty comes wrapped in divine wisdom. Allah Almighty says in the Quran, indeed with hardship comes ease. 94-6. Notice the promise. Ease does not come before the hardship, nor does it always come during the hardship. It comes with it, like two threads woven into one fabric. Your pain and your relief are already tied together. You cannot hold one without the other. Another verse declares, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give glad tidings to the patient." 2 to 155. Tests are not signs of divine anger. They are signs of divine trust. To be tested means to be seen, worthy of growth, worthy of resilience, worthy of carrying more than comfort. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ also reminded us, the people who are tested the most are the prophets, then those nearest to them in righteousness. Tirmidhi, if even the most beloved souls endured loneliness, betrayal, exile, and pain, then your hardships do not make you less chosen. They may in fact make you more. In every trial, the same message echoes: you are not abandoned. You are being elevated. Hardship is the classroom where your heart learns patience, where your soul learns trust, and where your spirit learns to walk closer to Allah Almighty. So, when you feel the weight of rejection or the silence of solitude, remember you are standing on sacred ground. The very verses and teachings that shaped the strongest hearts are now shaping yours. Among the most powerful stories of transformation in the Quran is the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. His journey is one of rejection, betrayal, and hardship, but also of divine positioning. As a boy, Yusuf alayhi salam shared his dream of greatness with his family, only to be met with envy. His own brothers, those who should have been his protectors, cast him into a well. Imagine the darkness, the fear, the sting of knowing you were abandoned not by strangers but by your own blood. To anyone watching, it looked like rejection. But to Allah Almighty, it was redirection. From the well, Yusuf alayhi salam was taken into slavery. Later, after choosing righteousness over temptation, he was thrown into prison for a crime he did not commit. Again, to the outside eye, this was humiliation. Yet, at every stage, Allah was not discarding him, He was preparing him. The well was not the end. The prison was not the end. They were steps, each one moving him closer to the palace where he would one day hold authority, not just for himself, but for an entire nation. The beauty of Yusuf's alayhi salam story lies in this truth. Every no from the world was actually a louder yes from Allah. Every door that closed was guiding him toward the door that truly mattered. What his brothers meant for harm, Allah used for elevation. Your story may not include a literal well or a prison, but perhaps you know the ache of being misunderstood by your family, of being excluded by your peers, of being judged unfairly. Like Yusuf alayhi salam, you may feel that life has pushed you down. But remember, the pit is not permanent. The prison is not forever. What looks like rejection is often the very path to your greatest purpose. If Allah could turn Yusuf's chains into a crown, He can turn your trials into triumphs. The story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam is another powerful reminder that separation is not abandonment, it is preparation. From his earliest days, his life was marked by displacement. As an infant, he was placed in a basket and set afloat on the Nile, separated from his mother. Later, though raised in the palace of Pharaoh, he never truly belonged there. Surrounded by luxury and power, a part of him always knew, I am not one of them. When circumstances forced him to flee Egypt, Musa alayhi salam entered a season of isolation. He found himself in Midian, a foreign land, unknown and unseen. To some, it might have looked like a fall from grace from the palace to the wilderness. Yet it was in this quiet exile that Allah Almighty was shaping him. Years later, alone in the desert, Musa alayhi salam encountered the fire that would change everything. In solitude, Allah called him directly, indeed, I am Allah, there is no deity except me, so worship me and establish prayer for my remembrance. Quran 20:14. Notice where this life-altering moment took place, not in a palace, not in the presence of crowds, but in the stillness of the wilderness. The lesson is clear. Sometimes you must be taken away from the noise, from the applause, from the distractions of people to hear the voice of your Creator clearly. The palace could not prepare Musa alayhi salam for his mission, but the desert could. Silence became his classroom. Solitude became his training ground. Perhaps your own life feels like Midian right now, a season where nothing seems certain, where you feel distant from your goals, from your people, even from your dreams. Do not despise it. This wilderness may be the very ground where your soul is prepared to receive guidance. Like Musa alayhi salam, you are not lost. You are being led. And when the time is right, the same solitude that feels heavy today will be revealed as the soil where your calling first took root. Before he was known as a king, before people praised his wisdom and strength, Prophet Dawood alayhi salam lived through seasons of hardship that tested every fiber of his being. His life reminds us that greatness is never handed over easily. It is forged in fire. As a young man, Dawood alayhi salam was often underestimated. Even within his own family, he was left tending the sheep, while others stood before the Prophet Samuel. Yet Allah saw what others overlooked. The very one left in the fields was the one chosen for kingship. That early neglect was not humiliation, it was preparation. Later, after his victory over Goliath, Dawood alayhi salam faced jealousy and hostility from King Saul. Instead of enjoying peace after triumph, he was hunted, betrayed, and forced to hide in caves. To an outsider, this might have seemed like a tragic fall from victory to vulnerability, but in reality, the cave was shaping the heart of a king. Leadership requires more than celebration, it requires resilience. The loneliness of the wilderness was teaching him patience, humility, and absolute trust in Allah. The lesson is striking. Before the crown comes the cave. Before the applause comes the silence. Before public honor comes private struggle. Dawood alayhi salam was not being broken down to nothing. He was being built up into someone who could carry both authority and faith without compromise. Maybe you too feel like you are in a cave season, hidden, overlooked, even pursued by challenges that seem relentless. Take comfort in knowing that the same Allah who shaped a shepherd boy into a king can shape your trials into strength. The crown may not be visible yet, but the character for it is being formed right now. Every great mission begins in hidden places. For the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that place was the cave of Dhira. Long before the Quran was revealed, long before the message spread across nations, he would withdraw from the noise of Mecca and seek solitude on the mountain. In that silence, away from markets, conversations, and distractions, he reflected, he searched, he purified his heart from the illusions of the world around him. What looked like isolation was in fact sacred preparation. Because before he could carry the weight of revelation, his soul needed to be emptied of everything else. And when the time came, the angel Jibril descended with the first words, "Read in the name of your Lord who created." Notice this, the world's most transformative mission did not begin in the spotlight, it began in solitude. Revelation came not in the middle of crowds, but in the stillness of a cave. The lesson for us is profound. Sometimes your Ira is not a physical cave, but a season of life where you feel hidden, unnoticed, or separated from people. You may not understand it now, but these seasons can be the very ground where your spirit is being cleansed and strengthened for what comes next. The Prophet ﷺ emerged from Ira ready to face rejection, insults, boycotts, and battles, yet his faith never wavered. Why? Because the solitude had already shaped him. So, if you find yourself in a place of silence and stillness, do not assume it is wasted time. It may be your own cave of Dira, where Allah is preparing your heart for the mission written for you. Every believer faces tests, but not all trials feel the same. Some crush us quietly, others shake us loudly. To understand them better, think of your struggles in 4 archetypes. Each type carries its own lesson, its own doorway to transformation. 1. Rejection. Rejection stings the deepest. When people you trust walk away, when doors you hoped for slam shut, it feels like a wound to your very worth. Yet rejection is rarely the end, it is often redirection. Prophet Yusuf ﷺ was rejected by his brothers, but every no moved him closer to the yes that would define his purpose. The next time rejection breaks your heart, ask, what greater path might Allah be guiding me toward? 2. Silence. Sometimes the trial is not in what happens, but in what doesn't. You pray, but no answer seems to come. You try, but nothing changes. Silence can feel heavier than rejection. But silence is not absence, it is often intimacy. Prophet Musa alayhi salam heard the voice of Allah not in Pharaoh's palace, but in the silence of the wilderness. When life goes quiet, it may be so your soul can hear what crowds would only drown out. 3. Breaking. There are seasons when life simply shatters you. Loss, betrayal, grief, moments where you are left broken in pieces. Breaking feels like the end, but in truth, it is the beginning of reshaping. Gold is refined only by fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Likewise, the brokenness of the believer polishes the heart, making space for sincerity that cannot grow in ease. 4. Waiting. Perhaps the hardest trial is waiting. Waiting for relief, for clarity, for a prayer to be answered. It feels endless, like standing in the hallway between doors. But waiting is not wasted, it is weight training for the soul. Prophet Ayub alayhi salam endured years of suffering with patience, and his story teaches us that Allah never delays without reason. Waiting stretches your capacity so that when the blessing comes, you are strong enough to hold it. Each of these trials, rejection, silence, breaking, waiting, feels unbearable in the moment. Yet each one carries within it the seeds of transformation. They are not punishments, but invitations. Invitations to trust more deeply, to surrender more fully, and to grow into the strength Allah has already written inside you. So ask yourself, which trial are you in right now? And can you see it not as the end of your story, but as the shaping of it? When life feels confusing, when pain doesn't seem to make sense, it is easy to believe that nothing good could come out of it. But Allah Almighty never allows a trial without weaving purpose into it. Behind the scenes, something sacred is happening. Think of it through the lens of the 4 P's. Trials cleanse us in ways comfort never could. They strip away pride, arrogance, and the illusions of control. Hardship purifies the heart, making it softer, more sincere, more dependent on Allah. Just as water washes dirt from the body, trials wash dust from the soul. Sometimes Allah removes people, opportunities, or comforts from your life not to harm you, but to protect you. You may grieve the closed door, but only He knows what danger lay behind it. What you call loss may, in truth, be divine shielding. Every challenge is equipping you with strength, patience, and resilience you will need for the next chapter. Without these trials, you would not have the capacity to carry the blessings He intends to give you. The difficulty is not random, it is training. Finally, Allah is not only shaping you within, He is also moving you into place. Just as Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was positioned from well to palace, your current struggle may be shifting you into exactly where you are meant to be. It may not look like elevation now, but one day you will see how every step was divinely aligned. So, when the storm rages and you cannot see the wisdom, remember, Allah is purifying you, protecting you, preparing you, and positioning you. Nothing is wasted, nothing is random. Every tear is a tool, every trial a teacher, every hardship a hand guiding you closer to Him. It is one thing to know that trials have meaning, but how do we live through them? Knowing that hardship is preparation does not always make the nights less heavy, the silence less painful, or the waiting less exhausting. This is where response matters. The Quran and Sunnah give us clear guidance on how to endure, not just survive the tests we face. Patience is not passively doing nothing. It is holding dignity when despair tempts you. It is choosing trust over panic. Every moment you respond with sabr, you are writing a testimony of strength in the unseen. When life overwhelms you, speak to Allah, even if all you can say is a broken whisper. Dua is not measured by eloquence, but by sincerity. The Prophet ﷺ said, dua is worship. Every plea, every tear, every word you raise to Him is recorded as devotion. Trials often cloud the mind with fear. Dhikr clears it by reminding you of who holds control. Repeating Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar is not a ritual of the tongue, it is a rhythm for the heart, aligning it back to trust. True reliance means combining effort with surrender. You work, you plan, you try, but you also release the outcome to Allah. Tawakkul says, I have done my part, now I trust yours. Grand gestures are not required. What transforms the soul is small, steady steps. 2 minutes of dhikr in the morning, a single sincere dua at night, a verse of Quran read daily. These little acts create resilience far greater than bursts of intensity. Your trials are not testing whether you can live without pain. They are shaping how you live with faith inside the pain. Respond with patience, supplication, remembrance, trust, and consistency, and you will not only endure, you will be transformed. When hardship lingers, it is easy to slip into patterns that quietly drain your spirit. Recognizing these pitfalls can help you guard your heart and walk the path of faith more steadily. You look at others and wonder why their lives seem smooth while yours feels heavy. Comparison breeds resentment. Remember, every soul has its own test. The timeline Allah has written for you is unique. Counter practice. Shift your gaze inward. List 3 blessings in your life each day, however small. In seasons of loneliness, you may crave constant reassurance from people. But if your worth depends on their approval, your peace will always be fragile. Counter practice. Seek quiet moments where you affirm, my value comes from being chosen by Allah, not by people. Sometimes, in trying to fix the pain, you exhaust yourself with too many practices at once. Spiritual growth is not about intensity, it is about sincerity and consistency. Counter practice. Choose one small act of worship to hold on to daily, and let that anchor you. Avoiding these traps will not erase the hardship, but it will protect you from adding unnecessary weight to the burden you already carry. Every prophet, every righteous soul, every believer chosen for greatness walked through fire before they ever stood in light. You are no different. Your tears are not wasted. Your silence is not empty. Your pain is not pointless. You are not being crushed, you are being carved. This is the moment to decide. Will you see your hardship as punishment, or will you embrace it as preparation? The storm is shaping you into someone stronger, softer, and closer to Allah Almighty than you have ever been. So here is your call. For the next 30 days, hold on to 3 small practices. Whisper dhikr each morning. Take 5 minutes of silence each evening to speak your heart to Allah. And once a week, give something time, care, or charity for His sake. These are not grand gestures. They are seeds. And from them, Allah will grow resilience, clarity, and unshakable faith. O Allah, for every heart that feels heavy, grant it light. For every soul that feels alone, grant it your nearness. For every tear that falls unseen, grant it purpose. Replace fear with trust, sorrow with patience, and silence with your comforting presence. My dear brother, my dear sister, this is not your ending. This is your becoming. The weight you carry today is shaping the strength you will need tomorrow. Trust the process, embrace the season, and remember, you are not being overlooked. You are being prepared, protected, and positioned for what only Allah knows lies ahead.